this than younger. That's what I keep seeing. I see a woman, you know, with the little silver glasses, little cat glasses. And it seemed like I'm just in here and I feel older. And I feel like I need to be older because I need to keep everybody in line. So maybe 40s, 50s. But it seemed like it had a younger vibe. It used to have a younger vibe to it. And then it got to this where it was older people coming here more than younger people at some point in time. And there was also just people trying to sneak in because they couldn't get a ticket, they couldn't pay. And I think that's too why they had someone older working that area. And it's just a lot of people. But I'm also getting an underlay of all of that as, of course, we're getting into an older kind of era underneath that. So I've got like a dress to here, and it might have been like before 1920 and going into the late 1800s. But I'm going to try to keep on track with this time frame and not get into all that because I know we're limited to time. So I'm going to try to keep it what I see here of what happened. So and my hands are getting really cold. So there's a lot of activity here. There's a lot of earthbound here. I think it was because this was their happy place and this was an escapism place. So I'm kind of getting that people still hang out and like to frequent where they were most happy or wherever they had that. Because you know, my hands are getting really cold. I mean, just my hands are just getting really cold. So there's a lot of spirit activity here. So you want to go to another place?
I'm just curious.
Oh, okay, that's the history. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Much stronger in here.
Yeah, it's much stronger in here. Anything it seemed like over here. Mm-hmm. And would this have been where you went upstairs or, yeah. I mean, I could see the steps, but still, you know, wherever there's stairs, it tends to be more hauntings and more residue energy simply because of the movement of people going up and down over and over again. So it creates.
Yeah, this is where we at right here.
Okay.
Yeah, the side
And
door.
that's the front where you were. This was the colored entrance, back entrance.
Okay.
That's what this part was. And then we went upstairs.
Yeah.
That's the same ticket box. You can kind of see it here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. So let me touch this. Yeah. Oh wow. Wow, look at this. Oh goodness. Oh. I feel poor. And I feel like I just, you know, I feel poor. A lot of little kids. A lot of little kids. A lot of poor little kids. Even over there, I felt like all these little kids running to the front that were very poor, like trying to find a way to get in. And that's why you had that elderly lady, you know, the kind of the TV, I mean, the teacher mom, like trying to keep track of everybody. Where I feel here, it feels more little kids all conjugated in this area over here. Yeah, I also feel kind of queasy. And that could be just this heavy energy of a lot of people that came here and left their energy behind. And also some of them that come back. You know, it's like whatever made you happy sometimes with spirit is where you come and you gravitate towards. And I kind of feel that here. It's strange because my face feels like it's starting to change. Like I'm like somebody who would have left something in their corner of their mouth, like a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
Like it almost made it, like they kept for so long. That's what I feel like in my mouth. And I feel like, you notice my stance. Like I feel like I want to stand like that. And I have on like a dark jacket with dark black pants with some buttons. But I feel dirty. I don't feel like I starched and washed this. This was something I threw on, and I'm sweating, and I'm kind of smelly, and I'm a man, and I'm kind of like sympathetic, but kind of have a stern reserve, and that was to kind of sort it out because there were arguments too that happened, and chaos, and he was the one in charge that would come in and sort it all out. But I got a cigarette hanging out my mouth right there. Is there any questions anybody want to ask me that this clock? So this was in wow. So was there, maybe I'm thinking this or feeling, I don't know, but at 2 o'clock, would have been a show at 2?
Matinee.
Like a matinee, because there's, if I'm this clock, I want to be over
Saturday
here.
matinee.
I want to be right here.
Several a day.
Clock.
Yeah.
There was several a day. This one, that was before my time. I used to go to the Southland Mall to I'd go to Southland Mall at home if I wanted to go to the cinema, go to see a show at the. Yeah, this clock has, but yeah, this has much more energy. This has an older energy and not as strong as energy. And like I said, see this now, and I try to block out what I see, but pretty much that picture has a older. So there's, this is an older vibe, but like I said, this, and I'm trying not to let my aesthetics take over, but man, I see a lot of horses around this area. So it just seems like right near here, if not here, seemed like they were auctioning off like horses, and men had ballots, and there was an auction going on here. But that's an earlier time period than the lobby and that era. And like I said, it might be because all this brick, and this has a lot of energy to it, because you have to realize that all these bricks are handmade by people. So, and yeah. But I also see something about this with, maybe like fashion too, so I don't know whether at some time this was also like a dress shop or that kind of thing, because you're getting kind of visions of different things throughout time. But just significant things had to be whoever was walking in the gorilla outfit outside, and the elderly lady to stop people coming in without paying. That was a very strong imprint over there. And here it's older, and it's more an auction going on with that. So we could walk off here?
Yeah.
Wow, because I see a desk way back there. So whatever this was at some point in time, it just feels like you went through a storefront that was here, and then the desk was way back here. And I just feel like this was like a regular store, like what you would see with clothes and that kind of thing. But I also get like this, this was also like with props or things. Was this also like a storage? So I don't know if the whole thing was a storage, but I also get that there was some kind of storage back here. There might have been mannequins, there might have been storefronts or that kind of thing, but it was to the back here. And I also feel like there was two men that also had this place. Like if this was a store, it could have been owned by two people, two men. And I see glass cabinets and that sort of thing going on, ties, hats, so I feel like men, it would have been more men kind of attire, or part of it was more men attire, more than ladies, and these two gentlemen that were associated with this area. But for some reason, this is weird, but I don't know about back then, but did they have livestock that came through here? You know, and it was going to be an auction of livestock. That's like very prominent of
You can
this
look in the back
place.
here.
You want to go look in the back? Oh, wow. So this would have been like a street or avenue of some sort, like an
Yeah.
alley.
Probably this is a
And
corner.
this was a corner. See, this has way more people in it than up there. This has way more people back here. God is hot. So where else can we go?
Oh, here's Kathleen Blanco's desk.
Oh, wow. I feel the most active part is in the cinema. In the theater. And again, too, you know, you have a building that holds energy to it, and there's much more aesthetics and things of the original time period to hold more energy. That's why I was I was putting my hands on the bricks, trying to take in what was here. But I don't feel as much activity, and it feels like older than there. Yeah, I feel like this one on here. And this is a predominant energy, especially horses for some reason. So we'll have to see about that. This whole area, like I was saying about the two men and more men's clothes, if that were being sold here, this definitely, though, when you're saying that, has a more male vibe to it. This whole area. See, now I feel more. Oh, wow. As I get towards the back of all of this, I feel more Spanish as I'm going towards the back of these buildings. And now I'm feeling kind of sick. So either it's the building or it's something that's here that I'm feeling a little queasy about with that. So, oh wow. Yeah, this is what I'm being drawn to. And this is Spanish. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I just feel the Spanish, and maybe there was a Spanish family that lived back here at some point that might have inhabited this whole section. It kind of reminds me of where my family lived in the French Quarter that now has no resemblance to where they lived in the French Quarter. That's kind of the feeling that I get here. So if this was residential, and this would have been a more, like a lot of families living back here. But, and then there would have been one section where it feels like there was a lot of workers. So there was residential, and then there was a whole working facade. So, and there was a part where it ended, where residential ended. Well, I feel like people lived, and then suddenly the commerce began. And I kind of feel like it happened somewhere along these lines. And then you would have had some commerce going on. So trading, auctions, that kind of thing. But all these things have a lot of energy to it. And that's a whole other show. I read objects too. I can hold them and read their history. But I mean, we could be here for days.
You just walk up to this bed and the energy jumps out of it.
Yeah, you feel that too. And I'm not quite sure that I'm not going to read the little tag right now, but I don't think this bed is where it says it comes from. So,
I don't even remember.
Polly. Okay. This bed doesn't feel like it's come from this area. It just feels like it comes from. Polly is a name I got when I walked in the door. I'm serious. Polly was the name I got when I walked in the door. So like I said, what that Spanish stuff is, that kind of, it's like what pops out at you the most. And I want to say the Spanish stuff, and and I walked up to this bed. So maybe that's why. And also, I just uncovered all that antique lace that you have, the black Victorian. All these bottles have a lot of energy. And, of course, they reuse these bottles. I see more people washing these bottles than I do of filling them up. And it's almost as though there's someone telling me that. Like someone saying, give us importance. We've cleaned these bottles. We washed these bottles to reuse these bottles. It's almost like there's a little woman that I see, and she's kind of like got her voice in my head saying, remember us too, it wasn't only the cows that filled these bottles, and it wasn't only the men who did it, it was the women who cleaned them like us. So it kind of, yeah, cool. Was this is also, well, that emblem, which I'm, with the Evangeline. Was there a parade or something? They would have been like this milk kind of like a float, or someone dressed up like her.
Milk wagon.
Or something to do with like having a parade, and something to do with.
We put your wagon in the parade.
With the, okay. And maybe someone would have even dressed in that historic outfit. And I'm just curious as to what really grabs my attention. It really has a lot of energy. And it's funny because this doesn't, but that does.
Yeah.
This pick and choose things. It's fair. I associate all of this with like a store that's on the water. That's what I'm seeing in my head. So I don't know if it all came from the same store, but some of these feel like they would have come, I know there's no way of verifying things I'm talking about, but kind of feel like some big, I kind of see in my head like some big wooden sliding doors, and like there's the water. And then I see all of this stuff, like there's an association with that, and boats. And that's what I see, like, so not something that would have come in through a truck,
Right.
but these groceries that would have come in through the water, or maybe to stop boats or something like that. And that's my biggest association when I see all this. I just see that kind of scenario in my head.
Like a steamboat.
Not that late, not that late, but still goods being brought in via boats and not being trucked in the way that they would today.
So how close are we to the water? There's a service alley and then the Bayou Teche?
Yeah,
They're
Yeah.
pretty close.
yeah.
Well, trapeze. What's trapeze? They're on the water. That's where they were.
Oh, that's where
along
they
the
were.
Bayou
Okay.
Teche. So it's possible
It's possible, right?
that company was on the Bayou Teche.
Okay.
How many years ago? It was years ago. They closed. Trapeze. Yeah, but they're on the Bayou Teche.
They were on Bayou Teche.
Yeah.
So it's still a lot of, I feel like stores or trade, you know, that bringing in goods. I mean, I don't know, but maybe till, I don't, but not old, not
Right.
1800s,
No,
not steamboat. This would have been,
Yeah.
you know, maybe 30s, 20s, 30s,
Yeah.
somewhere around there that I kind of see this. That's part of the ill feeling I get with the theater is the 1930s. I don't, we just talking about all of this, it's like I feel poverty, I feel that when I'm and I feel an association with that when I'm in the theater part. That's what
Poor
I feel
kids.
the most. Poor kids.
Depression.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny that, you know, now that we're talking
Yeah.
about it, it's like that
That was
one,
the
I
feeling.
think of, that's it. That's it. Not everybody dressed up in fine clothes and coming to the show to matinee.
Right.
It's that grabs my attention more. Yeah, because it makes me feel like sad, like there's a sadness to it too, as well as people having a good time with that.
Like Mark said, an escape.
An escape, yeah.
Yeah.
Forget.
Right. But this all feels hustle and bustle and life and money changing. You know, this whole work. A bird, John is laughing, this bird.
Oh.
Yeah, all a bunch of little Irishmen too running around here, huh? It's just, it's more emotional than what I thought it was going to be. It's much more emotional. You know, I have to go back over there, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
don't know
probably should.
why.
Yeah.
Let's go back over there, but it's way more emotional, and it's funny because I did Trippy House, and I was okay, and here I'm not. This must be at an earlier time before this theater was the theater. Because this area feels a holding cell. Like if someone would have got maybe caught stealing or whatever, like there's, I don't know, I'm not gonna try to figure it out. I try not to think and just feel, but sometimes you can't help but try to figure it out in your head because it's kind of stumping me. But I want to say that this is earlier, and this was, I feel like I see men being held here until they could go take the paddy wagon and go to jail. Or if they were gonna, somebody came and just said go. You know, that's not a big enough offense. You could just go. So it's kind of like a holding place. And when we physically look at something, we think about just this little area.
Right.
I don't know exactly the perimeters or how it was, but that's what I feel in this area. And that's when I came in and said, oh, I feel bad. Yeah. Because I feel like I'm waiting to my plight. I keep getting this phrase like my plight, you know, like that. And it feels new. And this is why I wasn't feeling good either before, just like this.
Yeah.
It just feels bad. That could be having an overlay. We think it's theater and it's because of that, but there's other things that happen here.
Did I say something? I heard there was a tree right there on the other side of this building with the dimensions. Yeah, I was going to actually go walk outside to see the field. That's what I heard.
That's it.
Dimensions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh
was
yeah.
an old guy, it was 1800s.
Oh yeah. Okay, so
When you
that's,
said that, I was like, oh, okay.
yeah, that sounds
That might
about
be it.
right. I'm waiting to find out my plight. Exactly. Well, maybe my great-grandfather maybe sold their pelts here. You never know, because they would come up to Lafayette too to go trapping.
But New Iberia was bigger than Lafayette.
Because they're from Dulac, so they're from Dulac. So
Yeah,
they
they
would
would've
come
passed
all the
through New
way
Iberia.
to Lafayette to go trapping.
Because Main Street is 182. They didn't have Highway 90 back then. Highway 90 was 182. So they would have passed down this street to go to Lafayette.
Interesting. God, too bad I can't take a Polaroid with what's in my head. So we want to go back in and finish reading in there, but this is great. Thank you for taking. He was also, but he had a good heart because he let a lot of people in. You know, he was stationed out there, but again, a lot of sadness because you felt like he was poor and all who he was letting in was poor. So you kind of got that feeling. So maybe 1930s, maybe during the Depression, don't know. And also too, when I went to the museum part, it seemed like everything became older, like turn of the century. And of course, I never read a museum before, so all those objects have an aura about them. They have an energy. So everything is like, read me, pick me. You know, its energy's popping out. So it's a little bit kind of challenging to read in the museum. But I did feel like that became 1800s and a lot of commerce and more dominated by men in that area. Going all the way to the river and back. A lot of wooden buildings, a lot going on back there. And then I came into this side. And suddenly I said, whoa, I feel bad in this little area right here. It's just like overwhelming. And I felt like I was a bunch of men and I was confined to a small space. And I felt like I was going to be past judgment. So, and I kept getting my plight. I didn't know what my plight was going to be. And whether the paddy wagon was coming or somebody was going to let me off the hook, what was going to be. And I was so, it was, what's his name? Mark. And that's what Mark said, there was supposedly a hanging tree in the back over here. So that's got a lot of overwhelming, that kind of energy to it. And of course, you know, when you're looking at something that's got perimeters like the building, you have to get in your head that this wasn't all like this. So don't know where that feeling should start and end and begin because we've got, it could have been a bigger space. So that might take you out into a bigger area and not just where I said, but that's where the really. So I think that's the gist of it. Then I had to kind of regroup and I kind of stopped it. Lots of little kid spirits I think you'll get. They're very energetic like little kids, so they put off a lot of energy. And I think maybe in some overwhelming suppression, anxiety, that kind of thing. And you might get sadness due to poverty. And then a lot of busyness with all sorts of things going on in the museum. And I also wouldn't rule out that something in the museum is haunted. And they have a huge energy field in itself. So you might be drawn to an object because of that huge energy field that's around it. And that can also draw in a spirit connected to that object, and then you have a haunting.
Yeah.
So there you go. So y'all in for a treat. There's lots to, I think, explore and read and tap into here. But thank y'all all for being
Thank you,
here.
Kayla. Can I ask a question?